All right. Hello, everybody. Hello. If I think we should be. I think everybody is here. Let me just do some spot checking. Can everybody hear me? Any issues? Let me know. Okay. Um, all right. So I just want to thank everybody for joining. So for those that don't know that are watching, Christian Kagwai, and I'm the moderator for today. So I wanted to welcome everyone for taking time to join us. And considering what's going on, I think a lot of us are maybe like Zoom tired. I think that's a new saying now. But I hope that this afternoon will be a time for learning, inspiration, as well as action. And as you know, this current situation's wrecked a lot of lives, and one of the intersections is for entrepreneurs and the hustlers. I wish there was a better word or context for like the mainly community work that we do, because business doesn't seem to fit, I guess. But I wanted to, not just selfishly for myself, but then also for others, just to learn what others are doing out there, because this is all unknown territory. So I invited some of my friends to talk story so that we can all learn and share. So a couple house rules. I think everyone should come in. Will be muted, but you all have the ability to unmute yourself. And I think let's just get started. Let's just roll. Let's just talk. Pretty informal. And so as you saw some of the videos, I guess we can start off kind of introducing ourselves and what you do, your name. So let's start with who we just saw, Paloma.
Hey everyone, I'm Paloma.
Oh, are you on mute?
Can you hear me?
Can hear you. Hold on.
Can you hear me? I'm unmuted. Yeah, can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
Hey guys, thanks for having me, Christian. I started PapaLowDown agency, a boutique PR agency here in San Francisco Bay Area. Started about 10 years ago, and primarily a small business owner, nonprofit arts organizations, creatives, independent hustlers. Yeah, and happy to be here to talk with you all about the hustle. That was actually like the tagline I came up with. The independent hustle was like over 10 years ago. I kind of claimed that for myself. It's cool to see like that evolve, especially the last few years. That word hustle has taken a life of its own. So thanks for having me. Excited
Yeah,
to
definitely.
talk.
Okay, who wants to go next? Who do we have here? You want to go next, Rainer? Here, let me unmute you.
Sure. So my name is Rainier Maningding, and I am the creator and founder of The Love Life of an Asian Guy, also known as LLAG. We're a platform on Facebook, but you can find us everywhere from YouTube to Twitter and Instagram. And we primarily focus on content related to race, politics, and pop culture. I started off, writing about Asian American issues, and now I'm doing a lot more community work, trying to build up the people who are in our community. So that's what I've been working on.
Okay, cool. Who else? We go, Jordan. Let me unmute you. There you go.
Hey, thanks for having me on. My name is Jordan. I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area. I've always been an entrepreneurial type of guy since I was, 20 years old or so. Now I'm 45, so that's over 25 years ago. Been running multiple businesses, but as of the most recent years, or at least almost 10 years now, I'm the owner of a food truck, or actually I've got a couple food trucks now here in the Bay Area. So I'm one of the pioneering OG food trucks that started the food truck scene out here in the Bay Area, and I'm still thriving.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Mike, you want to go? AKA Cosmic One. I just unmuted you. Everyone. Can you hear me, Mike?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, so I'm Christian and I've been friends since high school along with Jordan, who just spoke. And yeah, we've all kind of all been on this entrepreneurial trip. I've had so many businesses and I'm kind of in transition from the one I'm in now into another one. And so I was like thinking, I was talking to Christian, he was asking me what I wanted to talk about. And so he put what I have currently now, which is my dog walking business. But where my heart's really at is kind of connected to my own personal journey around relationships. Man, I've had some painful relationships based upon attachment trauma. And there's a tie-in between dogs and humans. I think we react from our nervous system first. Like our nervous system's that thing that got developed, that's the first thing we're born with. And so dogs kind of relate on that level too, like that fight or flight or freeze, and like good feelings or bad feelings. So, so my heart's been around this thing called attachment theory. And I've been working on that for the last year with a guy that's been doing this. And I've been in personal development and healing for like a long time. So it's just something that's really caught my passion. And so I'm kind of in between business and passion in like putting those two together right now. So I can just go on this, but that's kind of where I'm at. Christian was just talking about having that where I came from and transitioning and be able to talk about that. And it's been more of a personal journey than it has been a technical one.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Mike. Neilda?
Hi, everyone. I'm Neilda Pacquing, and I am a Philippine immigrant from Bataan in the Philippines, based in San Francisco Bay Area. And I am the founder and CEO of Mindglow, Inc. And we use the immersive experience of virtual reality to maximize workplace safety and prepare employees for emergencies, starting with active shooter training. So our training philosophy and our mission is to save lives through empowerment and engagement.
Cool, welcome. Last but not least, Princess.
Hello, everybody. I believe I unmuted myself.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Hi, guys. My name is Princess Ryan. I'm a Filipina Irish. I was born and raised in the Philippines. Been here in the Bay Area for, I would say, 6 years now. I basically quit my career there and moved here without knowing anybody. No family, no friends, no support whatsoever, and just kind of learned how to swim, and I haven't really met a lot of entrepreneurs. I didn't really consider myself an entrepreneur because, in the showbiz industry where we're trained to follow, we weren't really trained to lead. So when I came here in the Bay Area, that's when I learned how to lead. And since dancing is my passion, I've been doing it on TV. That was basically my work before. And when I realized that kids actually just gain so much confidence when they dance, not just when they dance, but when they perform in front of a live audience, that's when Kidz Groove evolved. And it's basically a dance production and workshop for kids, but it's more than just a dance class. It really is about empowering kids, making sure that they know their worth and they know that they have the power and that they can also create their own movement now, not wait until they're adults or they're entrepreneurs. But basically just showing them the power that they have now. And I use dancing to make it fun, make it entertaining, and of course use my influence in the Filipino community that have TFC, that were watching my shows before from the Philippines. And I also created my newest brand, which is called Maganda Forever. And it's all about, just like what Cosmic One was saying, it's all about, he's also going through like a healing journey, which I am going through because of my first brand. I got so like just drained, right? Like entertaining like all these parents and not just teaching kids, but creating events for them, or, you know, talking to people out there and say, you know, give these kids a chance in your events, just give them a spot. Most of them do, but not all of them, but not all of them give them a chance. And it's all about, I don't know, it just felt like when I first came here, not everyone kind of, you know, supported me because they would think like, I don't know, like, oh, you were a celebrity in the Philippines, you don't need any more help. So I basically had to help myself on my own. And that really helped me a lot as an entrepreneur. You know, not everyone is out there to help you with your vision. But at the same time, you do have people out there who are just genuine and just want to support each other. And that's, Christian is definitely one of them. You know, he's helped us all, connecting us together and sharing our knowledge. So thank you for that. And yeah, that Maganda Forever is about connecting and getting to know everybody.
Okay, so what's I guess the and this is for anyone actually to answer, the obvious, the obvious, or you know, elephant in the room. The question is like say Paloma, I know like with dealing with clients and usually with small businesses and big businesses that you deal with, they're going to look for cuts, and whether it's in marketing or they're going to look at their vendor contracts. Like for PapaLowDown, I mean, how has, you know, this pandemic affected or not affected PapaLowDown?
Yeah, you know, right now it's actually okay because I had some existing projects, contracts in place that they didn't need to cut me or anything. So I'm okay until like Q3, Q4. We'll see what's going to happen. So I'm hoping by then that folks will have things in place already, and, or, you know, like, yeah, pivoting, and maybe I need to expand into other industries or cities. And so, yeah, right now I'm okay, but definitely looking into the future and seeing what is that going to look like, and trying to make moves now to make sure I'm okay.
Okay.
The next
from a PR perspective, I mean, what are some things, because, you know, maybe the first week everybody got an email from Taco Bell to their nail parlor, and, you know, and some of it's like, it was kind of out there, but some of it was like, you know, they really care. I mean, from a PR professional, like, how do we as, say, like solopreneurs, you know, kind of handle this? I mean, even though, you know, we're almost or pretty much a month in deep, but there's still some sort of, sometimes I'm seeing tiptoeing around like how to address the issue with our customers or our circle, you know, or we don't want to look like the asshole that's, hey, buy my shit, you know, in the middle of a pandemic.
Right. Yeah. I just went to a conference, and that was a conversation, and it was like, you know what, you should be selling now. Like, don't not sell. And that, yeah, don't be an asshole about it or try to be opportunistic, but like, find out what do your clients need right now? Like, how can you be of service and really be human about it, and like acknowledge that there is a pandemic happening, but you're here for your clients. So, and also on the publicity side, like, one thing to note is like a lot of media outlets are actually struggling right now because a lot of their budgets come from advertising, and advertising is down. So you're seeing a lot of media outlets folding right now, which is, you know, worrisome. So one, I'd encourage everyone, like, subscribe, you know, donate or whatever to your favorite local media outlets, and just encouraging people to do that. But also there's a lot of opportunity for you to tell your stories right now. So look on Twitter. Twitter is where all the journalists and writers and producers hang out. So if you're keeping track of, if you're following people in the journalist industry, you will see them putting a call out for pitches and like, hey, I'm doing a story on this. Anyone want to participate? So, take advantage of Twitter and tuning into what's happening in the journalism world, because you'll find opportunities to tell your story. And I think that's what's important right now, is for everyone to tell their story, have it documented right now, because this is an incredible time for us to be alive. And how can we be resilient in that and share our stories?
Thank you. Anyone else want to talk about their experience? Let me see. I can call in someone.
So,
Neilda.
I could talk about my experience so far. So I'm in the virtual reality space, and something that I am noticing is that because conferences are closed down, live events are being closed down, there's been a lot of events happening in the virtual space. So right now there seems to be a rise in using frontier tech to accommodate for the things that are missing. And for me, as someone who specializes in virtual reality and training, it's been a really good opportunity for us to talk about the benefits of using virtual reality to enhance remote training right now too. So I see it more as, yes, there's a few things that, a few hiccups that's happening in the industry, but at the same time, looking at it from by seeing the opportunities that are coming out of it and using it as a catapult to creativity.
Yeah. Do you see it as like I've been reading articles that this is forcing us to go fast track into, the AR, VR world. And, we had a Travis Scott concert on Fortnite, had like 12 million viewers, and we're now all on Zoom.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that in your space?
Yes, I'm definitely seeing that in my space. And I've been talking to a few people in the blockchain and cryptocurrency space as well. And they're saying that they're starting to buy Oculus Quests just so that they could attend the blockchain conferences happening only in VR. So it's really interesting how that's starting to come up. And at the same time, I'm starting a new online course as a way to kind of like adapt to the scenario. So the product that I sell is VR active shooter training for regular employees. So we bring these headsets to the companies, and their employees go through the training in a very module-based way so that they learn how to build the instinct to react quickly. They learn the run, hide, fight method, the sounds of the most common firearms used during an active shooting. So one of my offerings is doing in-person events. The other one is an annual license to the software. So of course, right now, I can't exactly sell the on-site events. And so I'm only selling the annual license. And for the people that I speak to in these companies, they're actually interested in VR for training, but they don't know how to do it. So a little pivot that I'm kind of making, or more of an add-on, is I'm creating a course, VR Training 101, to start getting more instructional designers, IT professionals, subject matter experts to understand the technology and how to leverage the capabilities of virtual reality to enhance what they currently have.
Good, that's great. Yeah, definitely. I'm seeing that just a lot. Okay. Rainer, how's lag? With primarily being an online function, I would assume that you have a lot more activity. What are you seeing?
Yeah. So the interesting thing about the changes since the COVID-19 outbreak is a lot more people are active. A lot more people are going to these social spaces and finding out that it has become an alternative to physical spaces, and being able to hang out in the comment section can be just as fulfilling of a social experience as just having some coffee with somebody. And I think I've always, as someone who is who is in social media and social media marketing, I have always tried to look at social spaces like that, whereas a lot of brands that I used to work with would try to look at the comment section as an opportunity to field for leads and try to sell. I tried to look at this as an opportunity to say, hey, here are people at my dinner table. What are we going to talk about? What are we going to chat about this weekend? And I think I always try to have this approach of looking at our audience more from a psychographic perspective of like, I'm, as much as I might be interested in who is coming to the platform, whether they're 18 or 45 years old or from this particular area, I'm more interested in like, what is their state of mind? Are they coming over here because they're looking for a sense of belonging? Are they coming here because they're looking for answers? Are they coming here for memes and jokes? And so I think it's just an opportunity to really get to know the people on my page and in the community from a deeper level. And so it's been nice seeing so many people reach out to me. And it sort of pivoted my approach to my business because, I'm starting up a consulting business where I provide marketing services. And initially I was going to go ahead and look for, look to work with certain brands, small to medium sized brands. But now that I am, we're sort of in the thick of this and we're about a month in, I'm starting to realize that there are a lot of solopreneurs who are in that same boat, people who have even less resources than the small agency that has 5 people. There are people who are just starting their platforms on social media. And, now that you don't have in-foot traffic, they have to resort to, how do I survive on Facebook? How do I work this Instagram thing? And I think for a lot of us who have been on social media for so long, we have a fluency in how to, how to write a post that gets a lot of likes, how to post a selfie on Instagram that is a little bit more banging than the one last week. Whereas a lot more people who just have ignored all of these social spaces, it's hard to get them to put captions on their articles and their pictures. And so, I'm starting to realize that as intuitive as social media is for me, I have to understand that there are a lot of people who are sort of wading in the water and looking for some help. So I'm trying to use this opportunity to, have more heart-to-heart connections with people and try to understand what they're going through and see if I can provide some value.
Oh, definitely. All right. Jordan. Yeah. So I know the food truck business is definitely, based on events and gathering more than 10 people. So how have you been affected, and what are you trying to do to pivot or to survive?
Yeah, unfortunately, this crisis has heavily affected my business, like you said, especially the way I operated my own business, where we rely on the people to go out there. So we rely heavily on huge gatherings. So that's like concerts, arts and wine festivals, music fairs, county fairground type stuff, food truck events. So all of that essentially is gone right now. So we kind of have to think outside the box and kind of pivot. And luckily I belong to, I've got a lot of other food truck community friends who we kind of all brainstorm together and think and bounce ideas off one another. So we all have to kind of just be there for one another and just kind of think of different ideas to do more business, because essentially most of our business that we've have accustomed to do in the past is no longer there. So we just have to think outside the box and just reach out to, right now a lot of food trucks are doing, servicing the frontliners, the hospitals, the firefighters and things like that, and driving around and parking at like HOA home neighborhood communities and doing different things that we normally wouldn't do. So we almost have to be like an ice cream truck or like a taco truck, so to speak, on driving the streets and driving up to these hospitals and things like that to gain business. Are the
zone regulations, at least in the Bay Area, are they still, I guess, enforced or?
Yeah, so it really depends on each state and each county. So there's different, county licenses, there's city licenses and permits. There's a state license, but all of that is, some of them have gone a little bit more lax. I know some restaurants and bars, so to speak, who serve alcohol. Some states have before, you of course need a liquor license. So those at bars and restaurants that serve alcohol, some states allow food trucks and those restaurants to deliver the alcohol to the clients and do drop off sort of things too. But yeah, it's definitely affected us, and we just have to kind of just roll with the punches.
Yeah. Okay. Are you still, I know we talked about, like you were looking into some sort of like education for folks that want to get into the food truck business. Are you still looking into that?
Yeah. I'm still kind of, I've been reaching out, like I said, I belong something I've been kind of working on these, this past few years. I honestly quite haven't launched it yet, but I've been reaching out, kind of pitching to those who are, new to the industry, who want to start up, or there's also those who have also been in the industry, but yet they're still struggling. Unfortunately, as fun as my business looks, you see the long lines, you see all these foodie truck events. It's still a business, and unfortunately, like any other business, 9 out of 10 businesses fail. So it's definitely something I want to do with helping others who are struggling or who are new to the industry, where I can help them better succeed and have.
Definitely. I think like a lot of folks are starting to look for some sort of education. I think that the education is is kind of the next step, right? Folks are trying to educate themselves, whether it's through and it's forced them to because they're looking for like a side hustle or something like that. I think it's
Right.
important. All right, Mike, how's dog walking? Oh. Hold on, let me unmute you. Hold on. Okay.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm not dog walking at the moment, but I'm having a actually really good time in quarantine. I mean, it's hard to say that because there's a lot of stuff going out in the world, but at the same time, I've like I said earlier, I'm trying to start the next phase of my path, and it takes a lot of work to do something. And so I put about 8 years into dog walking, and so what's fortunate for me is 80% of my clients are still paying me as if I was still walking, and they'll continue to do so as long as they're still employed. Built a lot of good relationships there. So for that part, I financially I feel pretty good. But going into another service-based business and trying to clarify my audience, trying to clarify the problems, I'm having a lot of time doing it, and it's already kind of making way. I've been working mainly with women that have had problems with like these twisted love affairs with unavailable men. And what I know about something like that is there's a lot of just backstory to that, maybe from growing up. And so I've been getting referrals from clients. I teach at spiritual schools and counseling schools as well. So I've been getting clients from there, but then they've been referring me to other people. So in many ways, like my practice is being built just because they know exactly what I help with, and I don't even have a website yet. So the Zoom thing's kind of really helpful in that because I don't have to be location based like I am with the dog walking, and that's a pretty good. I wouldn't say it's I'm not used to saying the word side hustle. I'm 45, so that's kind of like I stay away from mainstream, but that's kind of it. I've been working on that, and my clients have been supporting me. But before that, like I said, I cultivated my relationship with my clients, and I kind of made myself in a place of like indispensable. In like all those little things that I did for them added up. Like maybe like picking up something for them when they couldn't get home on time or something like that. And so, tried and true, I think customer service is really important for any industry. I mean, you see these companies like Ruth Chris's or Potbelly or something like that taking these PPP loans, and I totally get where they're coming from. They're just trying to take care of their employees, and they're trying to stay afloat. And we don't know what's going to happen in our economy, so they're doing what they can. And in the general public, they don't really get the entrepreneur grind of like, so I totally get where Chris is coming from in trying to get as much capital as possible to stay in business. It's possibly going to be really rough. So that's kind of it. Like, you got to prepare for these times with like deep relationships with your existing clients. Before, like, it takes so much work just to get your existing clients. And so instead of focusing on getting new clients all the time, take care of the ones you already have. And like, God, I would walk into their houses and just like, they're just telling me, like, my heart just opened up. They're like, we still want to take care of you, and you're going to have a hard time. And it's really heartfelt, like having that heart connection with your clients, whether it's like one-on-one, like what I'm doing, or even having like some sort of like emotional response from your clients. I think it's going to be that thing that creates loyalty. And then like goes back to the unavailable thing. There's that pull, there's that emotional pull. So you got to work with people's emotions and helping them through these times financially. Because like, I think somebody was saying, now's the time to sell, but don't be a jerk. It's more about like, be sensitive that someone's having a hard time thinking about their future right now. So if they pay you money, there's a lot of stress behind giving you whatever dollars they're going to give you. So it's got to be top notch. Like, it's got to be something that they really need. And then I think somebody else said, like, just really hone in on exactly what the problem is that needs to be fixed and what we can pay for by servicing it, not paid for by like exploiting it, but just really being a total service and value. And I think value and service, no matter what business you're in, you got to come from that point, that place first.
Definitely. Princess, are you able to unmute yourself? Let's see. You should be able. Are you there, Princess?
I'm here.
Yeah. So how is, because I know Kidz group specifically. I mean, you and the kids, you all perform at the malls and at events. You just did the Roots soccer team opening in Oakland. So how does that look like? I mean, have you transitioned to doing online dance instructions, or what have you been doing?
So everything was kind of, I wasn't really panicking because, believe it or not, I was on schedule. I was super burnt out from last year. So this year I was like, I'm going to structure it properly. I'm just going to teach 2 months, and then I'm going to have that 1 month break to kind of recharge myself, because it takes a lot of energy being around these kids, and being there for their parents and all the freaking requests, right? So that 1 month was actually this month. So I'm just getting ready for May. May is going to be supposedly my second season for Kidz Groove. And we're going to be switching to online. When we went to the Philippines, when I was able to bring 10 of my kids to the Philippines to perform on Showtime and ASAP, where I used to perform, that journey gave me the idea of going online, because a lot of parents who saw us on TV were just like messaging us on Facebook saying like, how am I going to get my kids to join this? But majority of them were in the Philippines. So I was like, oh my God, okay, you're right. How am I going to do this? There's a lot of them who wants to join, but they're not even from the Bay Area. So then that gave me the idea before this happened to go online, so I can also cater to kids in the Philippines and, help them with their confidence and self-esteem through dancing. And now when this happened, it just basically gave me the go signal to be like, okay, well, now you have no choice but to really focus and do this online thing. And, like you said, you can't just be charging people now. Like I would charge, before I would charge $130 for one kid, and that's for the whole month, and there would be live classes, live trainings. And then during the weekends, that's when I bring them to different events. Obviously, I can't do that now. So I am thinking outside of the box, like how can I still train these kids, but also give them that exposure that other people are going to see them. So now I've basically created this idea that Kidz Groove Online is not just me solo teaching these kids, but I'm also going to be helping my co-choreographers, my co-artists, right, who are also hurting at this moment because, like you guys said, you can't do live shows anymore, you know, and that's what that's basically our bread and butter, is that we go out there. So I'm inviting all of them to join my platform and help me mentor these kids, and through that that subscription, whether if it's monthly or yearly, then I will share that with the group of choreographers that are going to help me. We are also featuring artists, local artists, and artists from the Philippines to share their music. Obviously, it needs to be kid friendly. It needs to be, you know, something that's positive. Yeah, that's really my main goal, because a lot of these kids, you know, they pick up on these songs so easily, and a lot of these songs are not kid friendly. You know, they say like words that are not appropriate for them, and they're saying it because they don't know, they're not really thinking that that means something. So that's with Kids Groove. I have the plan already. It's all about just executing it, and I have the month where I'm supposed to be launching it and all that stuff. With Maganda Forever, it's more of like an emotional support for myself, but this also happened to relate to the moms, because we just feel like, oh my goodness, what am I gonna do with my kids, right? They're with me all the time. For parents out there, we know how it feels. Like, we're already stressed out with work, and we have to teach our kids at school, you know, during their homework now full time. So I was just been hearing all these stressful complaints from these moms. And when I created this brand, and we would do like an interview kind of like this, but on one-on-one, checking how are they feeling, just as simple as that. Like, what are you going through? Just let them talk, because, you know, sometimes that's even hard to do with your partner, with your spouse, because then both of you are super stressed, right? So just being there, asking them how are they feeling, letting them talk, and at the same time asking them, what is the positive side of all this for you, right? And then they would start coming up with something, and then it'll just make them feel good. So with Maganda Forever, I don't know, I don't have any income coming in for that also, but eventually I'm inviting my entrepreneur ladies as well, and, you know, basically anything that will help emotionally for people right now. This is going to be my platform for those people to come together and let's do this. You know, it's one platform, we can all share it, to make people out there feel like they're not alone, that we are also human and we feel the same way, and that we're there for them.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, especially, you know, good thing you mentioned, you know, you have a daughter. I know, Paloma, you have 3 boys. Jordan, you have 2. So how are you guys kind of balancing your kids? Because, you know, a having your own business isn't, you know, is a lot more challenging than just having like a straight up 9 to 5.
I'll go real quick. Yeah, I'm, you know, we have 4 boys technically. The eldest is with his mom right now. But yeah, I gave birth to 3, and there's 7 and then 6-year-old twins. So they're like triplets. So I kind of have a classroom already. They're all kind of around the same learning stage. So we do circle time in the morning. That helps kind of just get everyone on the same page. My husband, I'm married. He's very active in cooking and cleaning and learning and stuff. So we just tag team in and out. We have a schedule that we stick to. So I think that helps, like, have a schedule. And even if you don't stick to it exactly every day, it helps move the day along. And it was also a great way to teach the kids about time and like how, you know, learning how to read a clock. So, you know, that there's some positive things going on. But yeah, it's challenging. I definitely don't think I'm working as much, or maybe I am at night where I'm like, okay, let me work. You know, I try to stop doing those 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock a.m. work sessions, but they've kind of creeped back in. recently. And the schedule that we created should allow for about 5 hours a day of work. So that's where I've come to terms with it. Like, I'm not going to be as busy, or not as busy, I'm more busy, but I'm not going to be doing so much work every day. And yeah, like I'm fortunate that I have enough in my budget to outsource some of the PR work and have someone on my team doing a lot of that stuff. So I don't do it all. I have a husband, and then I have contractors on my team that, you know, help me out. So
yeah, how's that work with your contractors? You know, you didn't have to cut any of the budget, or
not yet. Like, I can for the next 3 months keep someone on, and so that's where it's like, okay, after that, then it'll cut into my own salary if I want to keep that person on, which I may, just because it is a lot of work to
rehire, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work with the kids, and I'm like, I know that it's our responsibility to prepare them to grow into this new world. So I want to just equip them as much as possible and try to be as present as possible with that. And yeah, fortunately, like, my husband's income covers us for a lot of our normal monthly expenses, which also has gone down. So I'm like, wow, we're like saving more now. So they're not paying, there's no gas, there's no like after school program, whatever. So we're kind of saving more money right now, which is interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Has anybody tried to apply to those government, you know, the EED or what, EIDL or PPP? Any experience there? You want to talk about that, Mike? Go ahead. You're good. Yep.
Yeah. So I had a mortgage company back in 2007, and that was like the Great Recession. So, and that was the first time I went through anything like that, like kind of that financial collapse. So I was kind of late to the ball for all these programs because I was trying to deal with other things. It just didn't occur to me that there's like, the government wants to give you money. And so I was right on the ball around it. As soon as Northern Italy shut down, I started to actually take COVID-19 seriously. So I just like looked for all kinds of resources about like what was going to come out, what were they going to do, because I knew that they were going to shut us down as well. So once, I turned on the news every day, and I was listening for stimulus packages and seeing what they were going to do for small businesses. And I got right on it, and I got the PPP loan like a day before they ran out of money. And the only reason I got that was because they opened it up to the financial tech companies like PayPal, Lendio, and Cabbage and things like that. Because I have a business account with Wells Fargo, and they only service their high-end clients apparently, and so that's why they're getting a lot of flack. So and so I was kind of at that mercy because none of the banks were taking it, but I kept right on and kept listening to the news and for more information because all the information is changing. So I would highly recommend that everybody keep paying attention every day because it changes every day. So, I told Christian about PayPal, and he, I think, applied 15 minutes after me or something like that.
Yeah, and I didn't get anything.
Yes,
it all went to
I was right
Cheesecake
there.
Factory.
Yeah, so you got to be right on it. Like they're going to be doing it again, and then hopefully you guys already applied for the PPP. I mean, you can definitely reach out to me if you need some help there. And it's really easy actually. And as a solopreneur, the way you keep the money is by paying yourself. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I think sometimes we forget to pay ourselves. You just look at like that profit loss. At least I remember for the longest time I said, "Oh shit!" Someone asked me that, "Are you paying yourself?" I said, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah. So, and here's the thing too. I think this is more important than anything else. I didn't know how to do everything. I didn't know how to do the numbers. I didn't know exactly what the documents, what part of my Schedule C that they needed. So I asked for help, and I asked for I just looked for I did my own research, and if I couldn't understand something, I reached out for help. So I know a lot of us are solopreneurs, for anything, ask for help. If you're trying to come up with your message, it really helps just to have somebody to talk to, at least to get it out of your head. And then for me, at least, it becomes more clear just as I talk about it. So with the PPP, I asked for a lot of help from my friend who used to work for Ernst & Young. So he's he's an auditor, and he was just helping me go through it. And he's also setting me up to make sure that I stay in compliance so I can be forgiven. But I mean, the gist of it is, if you don't know how to do something, either research it or ask for help.
Okay, cool. I mean, so I guess before we open it up to questions, I mean, anyone can ask any questions or to each other, but I mean, what's kind of, as other folks that are kind of like solo preneurs, what's one piece of advice, you would give them right now if they're kind of struggling, say whether, because a lot of the folks that have a side hustle, they have a day job too, and then, or they have a family. So what's kind of the advice you would, one action item, I guess, for somebody in that position?
I would say
go ahead, Neilda.
Oh, no worries. I would say be flexible and adaptable, because right now we're in a period of time where this is the first time we've ever had a downturn or a huge event like this. So if you're flexible and adaptable, you'll start paying attention to different patterns that are happening now, and kind of either pivoting or just evolving your business to suit the current circumstance. So just be open to being flexible and adaptable.
Yeah, definitely. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll go.
Yeah.
So I'd probably say that the biggest piece of advice that I've been telling a lot of people is to, if you have that idea for either a podcast or a social media platform, or you maybe want to do a Twitter account where you want to make it just a bunch of jokes, now's the time. Now's the time to build out that platform. And I try to remind folks that if you're already posting memes and articles and content on your personal social media accounts, why not reinvest that posting energy into an actual platform that will actually build up over time? For a lot of people who start off just building up social platforms under their own name, sometimes can be really difficult, especially if you're trying to parse between your political opinions versus your professional appearance. And that's something that I've definitely had to deal with as someone who's very vocal about racism and inequality. And I also live in Texas, so it's kind of like a choose one.
Yeah.
And luckily I've chosen on the side of not shutting up. So I definitely recommend everybody, there are more people listening to podcasts than ever. There are more people on social media at a wider range of demographics. It's not just, kids and millennials. There's space for everybody in this platform. Even if you're talking about TikTok, even though it becomes joked about as this haven for a bunch of little kids, I mean, you can explode over there, and you're an older person. You can create content that is more informative if you don't want to be doing videos of you lip syncing. So I think whether you are a writer or an author or a dancer or a performer, there is space for you here. And I think the sooner you realize that a social media platform is just your ticket to post whatever message you want, I think folks will realize that if you commit to it, if you post every day, something will come of it, and you'll eventually be able to build that brand.
Yeah, what do you say about some folks, which I've had the same conversation, and they usually will say well, no one wants to hear, or somebody's already doing that. I'm not I'm not Joe Rogan or what,
Oh,
and they always see that end product, they don't see the when Joe Rogan only had 5 listeners or whatever.
Oh yeah, and I try to tell to people every time because, now luckily I have a really strong following and we have a lot of engagement on our communities. But for the longest time, I started off on MySpace and WordPress, and this was like I was on MySpace when Facebook was already out there, and I was just like one of the last, the last survivors of MySpace.
You and Justin Timberlake. I think when Justin Timberlake bought it,
it was me, Justin Timberlake, Tila Tequila. It was just all of the worst people. We were just on MySpace, and yeah, I hung on to it for a really long time because I felt like the expression, the freedom to express and say my thoughts and feelings was more important to me than any clout or attention. And it just so happened that over time, me constantly blabbing my mouth for years and years and years eventually led to something good.
Cool. Thanks, Rainer. Anyone else? Yeah, Mike.
Yeah, I just want to pick Chile Tequila. That was a good one, Rainier. I just want to piggyback on Rainier. Like there's a lot of things happening in the world, and I say focus on the thing you can impact the most. There's like these political things that you feel are unjust, but I think the biggest impact you can make is in your own life, and focus on that and do the things you can do there. And the other thing I think is really important is building assets, or like taking an assessment of what your assets truly are. So like Rainier, one of his assets is he has a very strong opinion. So then now he's like, that's probably why he's building a following, because he took a stand in his opinion and he's creating something. So that's like that's an asset that is that's not going to be affected by inflation. You can take that asset and whatever the currency is in the future, it's going to be paid the same. So take it, look down, write down a list of what am I good at? What do I love to do? What can I teach? Those are your assets. And then write down a list of problems of things you don't like in the world. And then start to sit there and brainstorm. Like I said, it's a lot easier when you're talking it through with somebody. And there's a lot of problems that need to be solved right now, and not enough people. Like, for example, dog walking. There's more dogs than there are walkers. I can't even take any more clients. It's like that. It's that simple. And I'm making over $100,000 as a solo dog walker. And I work 6 hours a day. So you got to look at nooks and crannies and what are the things do you like? Dogs? Do you like comic books? Something. And if you want to talk about comic books, like Rainier's saying, go on. Start writing about it and write it. Put your enthusiasm into it. And if you don't know, you love learning, write about the stuff you want to learn. Those are assets that you can take. And one of the things about the stimulus package, throwing over $1 trillion, more than $2 trillion into the economy right now, printing money. That means that the dollar itself in 5 years is going to be worth less than it is now. So if you're holding cash, it's way less than having a strong opinion and writing about it. It's way more. It's worth way more, having those personal assets that you can have. So, and if you don't have any good assets, learn. My partner, she's on the phone call right now. It's Troy Marginhoff. She just did her first. She did her first yoga class online in our living room. And she made a couple $100, and she barely even tried. That's 1 hour of work. So there's so much opportunity right now, and there always will be.
Yeah. And I think right now too, Mike, is that no one's gonna fault you if something fails.
Yeah.
Especially right now, it's like, oh, I tried something. And it's not like you're gonna try and start this multinational corporation to battle Coca-Cola. You're gonna try this little T-shirt company or whatever, and then guess what? It failed during a pandemic.
Yeah, well, I had a T-shirt company fail during a boom. So.
Yeah, exactly. So someone was saying about your dog walking. I have to clarify. I know you don't just walk poodles around the corner.
Oh yeah. So it takes
5 dogs and up in the mountain.
I'll take 12 dogs at a time off leash on the trails here in Berkeley. So I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
But there's one more thing I was going to say. Yeah, there's there's so much opportunity all the time, and like the media wants you to think that there isn't. So that's what I'm saying. Like, be careful about the things you can't control. Like Rainier's saying, like limit that. Unfortunately for Rainier, like he has to, so he gets to, because he can make money off of it. So that's it. Kind of like you have so much assets, you probably don't even know it. Start writing it down.
Cool. Thanks, Mike. Jordan, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, as a solopreneur, just answering your question, it can feel very lonely and uncomfortable, but just know that especially if there's something that it's been proven, or a business model that you're kind of following and you're getting into the same space, just what's helped accelerate me to get certain success levels that I've achieved in my own businesses is that I've reached out and I've learned to leverage mentors. And I think mentorship is very key, and it's helped not only helped me, but I was able to help other people do it as well. But just for me, I don't like to reinvent the wheel as if I have to. So if someone's proven that something is successful and I'm getting into that particular space, I like to just pick their brain and get mentorship from them, because if they're able to do it, why not I can do it? So I like to have that same positive mentality that if they can do it, anyone can do it. And so what's helped me and what's helped many other people is that just finding and getting the guidance of mentors who have walked in the path that who've been in the shoes that you want to walk in, and who walked the success path. And so that way you don't have to reinvent the wheel, so to speak, as much. You kind of have to what leveraging other success is pretty key.
Cool. Thanks, Arnie.
I just want to piggyback off of the mentorship comment, that hiring a coach would be really great right now. Like, I've worked with a business coach, shout out Anthem Salgado, Art of Hustle. And having a coach is probably easier than finding a mentor sometimes, because mentorships are like based on your, like a personal relationship or something. But I work with a prosperity coach too now. And so money mindset, I would say, is a huge barrier, especially for people of color, to get through, right? And so if you can get past your mental, emotional hurdles around money and wealth, then you can make more money, because a lot of that is really your own self-sabotage around the issue. So working with coaches is like my favorite thing. If I could have a personal coach for every aspect of my life, I would. But yeah, find a coach that you resonate with. And that's really, as an entrepreneur, I think that really helped get me and my business to the next level.
Definitely. Yeah. Like, around that mindset, I think it took me a long time to realize, like, a lot of it is inherited from, your grandparents or your parents, but then them immigrating, but they're looking at it to, escape, a certain situation. And that was dictated by colonialism and all of that. And then they're in America just to survive. But then you unconsciously kind of pick that up. And then you're like, oh shit, I'm taking this into my business practice. And, some of it is toxic, and you don't even know until someone outside your circle, calls you out on it, or you just have this realization. So I think that's that was a good point.
I want to piggyback on what you said, Christian, because that is very true. I feel like a lot of us, is going through this kind of like conflict within us, right? Like, how should we feel, or how should we basically represent ourselves because of all these fears? It's so hard to just do what are the things that you know how to do already, or execute your idea when you have all these fears in your head, these insecurities that you don't know what you're doing, just all these things, right? And also about well, for me, what really worked for me is, there's so much information right now, right? Outside, so many people are like, oh, do this, do that, blah, 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 which is very helpful. And I totally agree about the mentorship too, Paloma. That really helps a lot. But for me, it helps for me to just kind of have a time where I sit quietly and just, you know what I mean? Just go inside. Just because someone said that you are the master teacher of yourself, because you've been reading so much, visualize, watching. We all have these informations already in our head, but if we don't quiet ourselves and just like, have that time to reflect on what we know, we're always going to be panicking and have this sense of like, oh my God, I have to do something now. And I'm saying this because I was like that, and I still am like that, and I'm working how to, unlearn that panicking mode inside your brain. So just try to go inside of you and reflect and trust yourself, trust your inner knowledge, trust that something is guiding you through this. And once you have that energy, when you put out that energy of trust and love, a lot of things will just come to you, the ideas, the people that you need. A lot of the things that we do, it's really driven with energy. What are we putting out there? Are we so scared because so many things are lacking in our lives right now because of this pandemic? Or are we using that energy and taking that time to kind of recharge ourselves? And again, thinking about, I'm going to trust that I know what I'm doing. I'm going to trust that I'm going to be fine. I'm going to trust that there are people out there who are going to help me, who are going to believe in my vision. And it just comes together in full circle. But it only happens once you quiet your mind.
Yeah, definitely. I think trying to learn that myself. It's hard. My mind is hella noisy. So May in the chat room is asking, needs advice for someone who works more like a personal touch, especially in the times now where people are unavailable, like massage therapist. I can.
I want to say something.
Yeah, go ahead.
So what I'm noticing in the group, so I saw that May wrote that question. And so there's like mentors, there's coaches. And I also want to, probably you guys already know this, but bring up the concept of masterminds. So for example, May, she posted a question to a group of people, and several people had different suggestions for her. So having like a group of like-minded entrepreneurs, ideally ones that are in different categories, and you meet weekly, and you have like maybe 10 minutes of a check-in, and then you have like the other people, just like you have a problem, you talk about the problem, and you have those other people in your group reflect back to you what their perspective of it is. Because one of the things that Christian says, like, you're so in your head, you're not present, and like you lack trust, like you're trying to do everything in your head, and you don't actually. And when someone like looks outside of you and sees your problem, it's a lot easier to deal with someone else's problem than it is your own. So if you can't get out of your head, if you can't surrender, if you can't do that shit, like I said, there's other people that can help you do that. And I think this is what I love about being Filipino. Like, we have it in us actually, to think about other people. Like, I think it's probably opposite for a lot of Filipinos, is we're so focused on other people that we don't focus on ourselves. So that's kind of our tribal thing. And, I think the US can use a lot of that right now. So we really need to take time for our own personal issues, and like not getting out of your head, or like losing faith. And so what May did was like, there's that couple right there. Like, someone said, oh, hey, like, I've got a friend that does this. And it's so obvious that that's so possible. Like, because May probably had a hard time coming up with an ideal or something. And there it was, like, just like that, because you asked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of groups on Facebook, one new one, Asian Hustle Network, I think Paloma, you're in there. And there's just a diverse group of folks, from real estate to, the big, the big businesses, to someone making cupcakes, and just really diverse group. And, just advice, just even if 90% of it, isn't usable or not applicable to you, but just having that option of just putting something out there, I think is valuable. So definitely take advantage of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's up?
Oh yeah, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of piggybacking off what Mike said about joining mastermind groups. Yeah, this is something that I've always done in the past, but I haven't done it in a while, honestly. But honestly, this whole coronavirus has gotten me a little bit messed up here and there. So, sometimes I've gone through a lot of different emotions, especially being an entrepreneur. You really have to be your own boss. You have to be self-motivated. You have to be self-driven. There's no one looking after your shoulder. You don't have a manager or supervisor to tell you what to do. So being an entrepreneur, especially for a small business, you really have to have it all there. You really have to have really good mindset. And so, I'll admit, I'll be in and out of, feeling good and feeling dumpy at the same time from day to day. But I recently joined a mastermind group to kind of help me out with my own mindset. And more importantly, it's not only with, keeping my mind sharp, but it's also helped me with accountability as well. So I find that, if, like I said, being an entrepreneur, you're kind of everything. You kind of have to be you're wearing multiple hats. You're a jack of all trades, and you really have to make it happen for your own company that you run for yourself, right? And your family. And so you're really alone, but you're not quite alone. So I find that joining mastermind groups helps me with mindset and also accountability with keeping me on track of what must be done to help move my business forward.
Cool. All right. So any other questions from the
I wanted
attendees?
to respond to May's question about, sort of some advice in terms of, if you're a massage therapist and if you're exactly, and if you're working in something where you have to actually be physically present. Again, I sort of pivot back to this because this is something that I'm always passionate about, but content is king. I think, if you are a physical therapist and say, for example, you're unable to meet with your clients, to understand that you're offering more than just the physical touch, but that connection and the bridging of someone being able to, contribute to their own health and contribute to their own mental health. And I think understanding that you're in this space, you could start a podcast about wellness and health, or you can go ahead and go on TikTok and you have 15 seconds of quick little, oh, is your neck cramped because you're on Zoom all the time? Like, here, go do this quick little thing to stretch out your hands. Oh, you got carpal tunnel because you're, typing all your reports because you're at home on the laptop. Well, you can do this. So I think looking at yourself during this lockdown as, okay, if I am my own publisher, if I am my own marketer and media company, if I had to start a show on MTV, like, what would it be about? What would I talk about? What would I feature? How would I showcase my story? And I think if you look at yourself like that, as, hey, like, if someone handed me the creative control to sell and do whatever I want, like, what would I say? And I think looking at yourself in that way, you can offer more than just, you being there physically. I think as long as you are constantly providing that value in the form of information, people will probably be more drawn to your brand. And I think that you'll be able to attract more people. If they know and they trust you based off of the content that you post on YouTube, then, they might be more willing to walk inside that door.
Yeah, definitely. And honestly too, if you just have your own TikTok, then you're your own MTV, no matter what audience, right?
Exactly. It's like you have free reign to use that as your own channel. So definitely think about it like that.
Okay, cool. Any other questions? So yeah, I want to leave it open. If there's anything you guys want to promote or parting words before we go, this is being recorded, and we'll send this out to everybody.
I got a question for everybody.
Yep.
How did you get into solopreneurship? Like, how did you get into your first business? What's the story there? Yeah, like, you can start, like, starting with you.
I'll go. I used to, my mom used to buy those big boxes of candy at Costco, and then I would take them and I would sell them at school to my classmates. So then that, you know, morphed into comic books and all of that stuff, and gambling in school. So all those things, baseball cards. And so that's kind of like where it started, from like late elementary, junior high to high school. And so I kind of still carry that that mentality. You know, well, you're doing things that it's kind of on the precipice of being kind of shady. And, you know,
I just remember you had so much money in high school. I was like, fuck, dude.
yeah, so that was back then. Probably was better back then. But anyway, yeah, so that's kind of how it started. That's what I learned personally. And maybe to my detriment, I think personally, was that I did have a partner that I work with, you know, selling some like comic books and things like that. But I found that, man, it's kind of easier because, you know, I just want to try and make the decisions on my own. And, you know, so it was just kind of like hustling. And when I say hustle, I remember one specific time where I asked my dad if he had a business license. I said, yeah, because, you know, he's in real estate. So I took a copy of it, and then I wrote to all these record companies and these baseball card companies and comic companies and say, hey, I'm trying to open up a store. I think I was like 14 at the time. I said, I want to open up a store. And I signed it and sent them a letter. And then they sent me all this free stuff in these cases of these cards. And I became a distributor at like 15, 16 years old. And I'd have any over it. I didn't know what I was doing, but yeah, just doing those little things, and which come kind of handy right now too, as you find these little tips and tricks and how to do things and make mistakes.
I remember going to Logan to visit you one time there, and like all the old guys that were selling baseball cards were really upset with you.
Yeah, so you know, we still do that at Undiscovered. No, just kidding. Yeah, I think I'm interested to.
Yeah, I'll go.
Yeah. So
it took me a while to actually realize that this was sort of the foundation of why I got into a lot of the marketing shit that I'm into now. I remember I was like 15 or something like that, and I was always into marketing and business, embarrassingly so, because my family was into real estate, and this was around the time that The Apprentice came out, and I was in middle school, so I admittedly was like all into the businessman of Trump and all that shit. But I wanted to be like, oh, I want to be so rich. I want to be so, you know, into marketing and all that. And then as I got older and I, you know, got away from all that shit, in high school, I wanted to start my own agency. And I went and I visited my local hairdresser, like my hair care store. And I straight up went on on Photoshop and I redesigned their logo and their ads, and I printed it out and I gave it to them. I was like, hey, here's an idea for a poster that you can do for your for signage on the outside of your store. And obviously they said no, because I'm like, who the fuck is this like 14-year-old kid? But yeah, that's unfortunately you know, the inspiration for my business is now the bane of our existence.
Yeah, so I guess for me, I studied political science as an undergrad at UCLA because I wanted to be an FBI agent. I wanted to help people, protect them, make them feel safe. I also have a military family, so it's kind of in our family to be more of like a service to others. So that ended up not happening, and I ended up going the corporate route when I graduated from college. And I worked as a UX designer at companies like Bank of America and Sephora, designing digital products for all of their customers. So during that time in 2014, I tried on my very first VR headset at the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco. And automatically, it was a mind-blowing experience for me, where I realized that the technology had so much potential. And I started observing like what its capabilities could be. So like I was really passionate about education, and I was very passionate about using technology to create the most engaging content. So I eventually got into VR and training by by talking to subject matter experts, learning to understand like interaction design for this technology and VR development. And in 2018, I honed in on active shooter training because I was getting really tired of hearing the epidemic that we have in the US of all these massive mass shootings. And the current ways of preparing people are traumatizing, or they're unengaging. They have either like they're watching videos or they have reading material, and in-person drills are like, it's harming people. So I asked myself, like, how might we design an experience that can prepare people for situations like this in a very safe way? And after interviewing a bunch of people from like subject matter experts in the topic, global security executives in major companies, and regular civilians, I realized that, you know what, we could use virtual reality for this. And that's what we did. We got funded by a startup accelerator in Silicon Valley last year, and then built the product to where it is today, and now selling it to major companies. And so now the little online course that I'm doing is I want to start teaching other trainers, e-learn instructional designers or IT or subject matter experts to realize that they could use virtual reality for training within their organizations. The thing that I'm going to train is like, how do you choose and what's the best way to design these experiences?
I wanted to share a little bit about basically how I even got to show business, because I grew up in the Philippines, where it's so tiny, as I was in the province in Visayas, and I was the only child who had this kind of skin. So they would, always bully me, and that really hurt my confidence growing up. But at the same time, I had this inner confidence, but I didn't really show it to people. Like I said in my video, I wasn't a born dancer. When I showed somebody my dance moves when I was little, and that one comment just made me lock myself in my room and not show anybody my talent. But I wasn't just locking myself in a room and doing nothing. I was actually practicing it. And so nobody knew that I was practicing dancing in my room. And then when an opportunity came where I joined this beauty contest, you're supposed to be half Filipina and half something else. I was Miss Ireland. That was my first ever TV appearance, and my talent portion is I was supposed to sing, but then they changed it last minute to dancing. I was horrified because literally nobody saw me dance before, but the opportunity came and I did it, and eventually I was shocked because I won Best in Talent. My families were shocked too, like everybody in our hometown. But because of that experience, it showed me that without confidence, all these opportunities that are going to pop up in your life, you are going to either pass on them, you're going to miss out on them, just because you don't have that inner confidence, because other people are putting you down when you were a kid. And then when I went into show business, they trained us to just follow, this is your schedule, this is what you're going to do, this is what you're going to wear, this is what you're going to say. So I had that confidence, but I didn't have that leadership. And when I, decided I'm done with the show business industry in the Philippines, I want to, in my head, I was like, there's got to be more than this. There's got to be more than just doing the same thing, dancing, acting on TV, and, being seen by the whole country, but they don't really know who you are, or you're not really allowed to express who you are, and they're trying to label you in some other way. So I just, experimented and dive in head first. moved to another country. I was lucky enough that my dad is an American citizen, so I had my blue passport, and I just decided to use it. When I came here, obviously there was nobody who was willing to help me, so I had to look for a real job, and that was, I would say, my first real job. And it was really exciting for me because it was something new. So I worked as a cashier at a fabric store. It was Beverly's. They closed down now. And then I was like, oh, this is so exciting. I get to live another life. And then I didn't know there was a lot of Filipinos here in the Bay Area, and then some of them would recognize me. Sometimes I would get away by lying and basically telling them that, oh, yeah, I just look like that person. But the people who do recognize me, they feel bad, you know. They'd be like, what are you doing here? and then it would make me feel bad, you know. At first I was really excited. Being a cashier was exciting for me because it was something new, but then because people would label it as like, that's such a lame job coming from where you came from. And then eventually a lot of people kept telling me that, and then I was like, dude, maybe they're right. Why are you trying to be somebody you're not? So I missed dancing, went back into dancing. I started teaching Zumba. And then I would pack this gym with just a bunch of women, Filipino women in particular, who were familiar with my work back in the Philippines. And then the gym would just be paying me $30 per class. And then it hit me. I was like, why am I promoting somebody else's business? I should create my own. And then that's basically when Kidz Groove was born, because then the parents would, you know, sometimes be lazy. And then one time they brought in their kids, and then their kids would be super interested. And then they ended up coming regularly because their kids want to go. And it's not about them anymore. So I had to transition to be like, okay, I'm gonna teach kids, because I can relate to how, you know, they're so unappreciated, and people just say things, you know, they don't even mean it, but it hurts them. It hurts their self-esteem, their confidence in the long run. And then that stops them from being great. That stops them from pursuing their passion, from using their voice, using their ideas and executing them. So I finally went that route, and that's how Kidz Groove became. It's just, you know, it was just me. I was the only choreographer. I was the only one who's marketing it. A few friends were helping me with, you know, the branding and all that stuff. But that was my first experience of being an entrepreneur, and that's how it all began.
Yeah, thanks. That's an awesome story.
My first entrepreneurial journey was actually a little bit right after high school. I was I was about 19, 20, 21 years old. You know, so it takes a certain mindset to be your own boss and to get into business. And, you know, because when we're growing up and society teaches us to, you know, go to school, get a good college degree, get a good job. So, you know, kind of following the lines of Robert Kiyosaki, you know, the rich dad, poor dad type of thinking. I had the opportunity to get into business early on, right after high school, in my mid-teens and early 20s. And so one of my mentors back then, I was in the cookware business, and one of my mentors who got me in that business, and who I did was partnering up with, going back to my mindset thing, they took me to a lot of you know, events and seminars like Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, Tom Hopkins, Brian Tracy, all these different old school OG motivational speakers, you know, self-development type help stuff. So it really shaped my mindset on there's really a different way of making money, and there's a smarter way of making money. And for me, that was through business. And so versus working a job where you have to trade your hours, you're working for your boss, you work for a company, you work for a corporation, you have to clock in, you have to clock out, you have to trade your time, you're trading time for money versus a business. You know, if you're your own business owner, the sky can pretty much almost be the limit where you can, you know, whatever your mind and whatever you can think, you can achieve. And so what's helped me is that kind of just working smarter and not harder. And so that's what kept me in business to where I'm at right now, where, you know, there's another way, a better way. And that's, for me, by far, hands down, is being your own entrepreneur. and being your own boss.
What's your origin story, Paloma?
Okay, I actually started out in the fashion industry, and I went to school at FITM here in San Francisco, and then I went to another business fashion school in New York to get my bachelor's. And a lot of our projects were, you know, you have your own store, you have your own business, what is it? So I was really just trained at, you know, in school to be an entrepreneur. So I never realized I had it in me. Although I was like you, Christian, got those apple caramel lollipops. I'd sell them for like 25 cents at school. Yeah, so it was kind of a natural thing for me because I learned it. And then I managed a retail store. I was like 20 years old, and I was like already a associate manager. And so I knew how to manage a team and like know about like return on investment and like all these things, right? So I think it was just a natural progression for me because I learned it in school, and through that it was also like, well, put it into practice. And then knowing that why I started PapaLowDown agency was because I didn't see anyone advocating for Filipino and Asian American artists and creatives, you know, in the media. And so that was an experience. Native Guns was like a huge turning point. I don't know if anyone remembers Native Guns, but that was my awakening and social consciousness around, you know, issues of, you know, that the world faces and being colonized and all these things. So I was working with them. I was actually working with them and trying to promote them and getting a lot of pushback from the music label that I was working for, and I was trying to promote them. And that pissed me off. I was like, fuck this. I'm going to start my own shit, and I'm going to promote the people that I believe in, that I'm passionate about. So I never worked for a PR agency. Like I worked in PR or marketing departments, but I was very clear that I never wanted to work for a PR agency because I knew that they would be, you know, like it's like being a slave to the business, and I didn't want that kind of a lifestyle. So I really just forged my own path and stuck with it. And just, I think so persistence and patience is like something you have to build into your, you know, your values as an entrepreneur.
Great. Thank you. So yeah, thank you everybody. And definitely I'll post this online and let everyone know when it's available so we could share it to our networks. But I want to thank everybody, and, you know, just, you know, hang in there. And I hope that we could, you know, continue the conversation. Definitely not just online, but I think one of the takeaways, even when we're back to whatever normal is, that we continue, because we have people that are all over the country and even all over the world, and there's a lot of learnings. So, all right. Thanks, everybody. All right. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.